It is time to answer the big question. How am I meant to revise in medical school? Every single one of you will be asking yourselves this exact same question as you drown in clinical skills, lectures, different exams, as you try to balance this intense course alongside your very busy lives. And so you need a revision technique that is so effective. Of course, there are no direct answers to this exact question, because remember, everyone is different and everyone prefers different ways. However, there are techniques that people and scientists agree that these techniques will make the most of every single minute you spend revising, and this is what you need. My name is Rasheed, and I'm a medical student in Cardiff University, and today I will talk to you about Anki and how to use Anki. So, obviously the first question is, what is Anki? Anki, and this is its logo, is the most powerful learning tool ever created. It's basically a software that allows you to create flashcards. And based on how hard or easy you find these flashcards, it will then tell you to revise these flashcards at different times. Meaning that you can just use a software and it will tell you what to revise and when to revise. So basically this tutorial will be made up of 3 videos. This is the first video and it'll explore why you should actually use Anki. The next video is more about how do you actually download Anki and get started. And then the third video and final video is how do you actually revise using Anki and more tips. So why should you use Anki? These 2 pictures summarize the 2 main components of Anki, and I will talk to you about each of them individually. So this first picture, the question mark, is active recall, and the second picture is the forgetting curve. Active recall is way more effective than passively reading information, or listening to information, or passively typing notes, or writing notes. And just to show you this, let's go through an example. So here we have a fact. 1 in 5,000 North Atlantic lobsters are born bright blue. Let's just say you wanted to memorize this fact. Is it really effective to just passively keep reading this fact? Or passively just type it? Passively just listen to it once or twice? No, that's not really effective. But what if you make some sort of flashcard and you ask yourself, how many North Atlantic lobsters are born bright blue? The first time you may not know the answer, you may have forgotten it. You then see the answer, 1 in 5,000. So you ask yourself again, how many North Atlantic lobsters are born bright blue? 1 in 5,000. And you remind yourself of this question again and again, and you see the answer. And even if you get it wrong, the fact that you may forget the answer, but then see the answer 1 in 5,000, that really helps your brain to remember the answer. Forgetting and then look at the answer is so effective. So this element of active recall and questions and answers will engage your brain to a much higher degree than passively reading information. And this is a fundamental component of Anki, along with spaced repetition. I know what you're thinking. What in the world is this graph? This is the forgetting curve. And let me just explain how it works by using the same fact from the previous slides. So how many North Atlantic lobsters are born bright blue? 1 in 5,000. So I just told you this fact. So will you still remember this fact if I asked you tomorrow? What if I asked you about this exact fact in 1 week's time? What in a month's time? No, obviously we all know that as the time increases, shown by the x-axis, your ability to retain this fact will decrease, shown by the y-axis. And we all know this. And so what if I told you this fact today, but I reminded you of this fact? I asked you this exact same question, how many North Atlantic lobsters are born bright blue, tomorrow? And you answered, 1 in 5,000. I then asked you the day after. I then asked you the same question the week after, and the week after that, and the month after that. The more I remind you of this fact, the more you can retain this fact whenever and whenever. So you can go for a longer period of time while still being able to retain this fact, if this makes sense. So once I remind you after months and months and months, this fact will eventually become a long-term memory, and you don't even need to be reminded of this fact. It will just be at the top of your brain. And this is the point of Anki. And so these 2 elements together, both the active recall through flashcards and the spaced repetition through Anki telling you when to revise flashcards based on how hard or easy you found them, is what makes Anki so incredibly effective. Because you may be able to make flashcards on other websites, or may be able to manually make them by writing flashcards. However, that doesn't incorporate the fundamental spaced repetition. What if you write flashcards on a certain topic that you don't like, and so you may not be incentivized or motivated to revise a topic, and so you don't revise a topic as much as you should? Or what if you just write notes? And you might review those notes once in a while, but you're not actively recalling and engaging your brain. And so Anki combines these two elements, and that's what makes it so effective. And so in the next video, I'll tell you how to get started.